What's up, YouTube? This is Wilmer007 bringing you guys a video on Prison Architect titled Breaking the Bank with Carpenter tables and superior beds. In this episode, we're just going to show you a quick demonstration of what I do to make a lot of money just by selling superior beds. I don't sell any wood or any logs or anything like that. I simply just sell superior beds through export. Um, and I sell a lot of them. We're gonna show you how I get this done. First off, I'm gonna show you the valuation. We have a 1.2 million dollar total evaluation. No escapes, no deaths, no bank loan, and our bankroll right now is $835,000, and our income is 68,774, and we're on day 62, which is not that bad. And we have 117 prisoners. Next thing I'm going to show you is my regimen. My regimen's pretty standard. Sleep for 5 hours, and then we have 8 hours of work, and then the rest of the time is eating, which involves the free time. Basically, I have a lot of eating time because all my prisoners go to the canteen to take a shower and use the toilet and work out and watch TV and pray and all that other stuff. Basically, they do everything in the canteen. That's why they're there for so many hours. And at the same time, if you don't get a meal, you still have plenty of time to be able to eat, because it's almost impossible not to eat in those 4 hours and do everything else as well. So yeah, we work for 8 hours. We work 4 hours, and then we have a lunch break, and then go back to work for another 4 hours, and then do everything else after that, and then go to sleep. So they have a standard 9 to 5, just like us, except they sleep a lot less than we do, because they only get 5 hours of sleep. And so our next thing I'm going to show you is our programs. I want to show you how many workers I have. Basically, workshop safety induction, we have 11 that are currently interested, which is good. And then we have 87 that finished, and 58 have passed. 66% have actually passed, so that's really good. Carpentry apprenticeship, we have one that's currently interested, and we have 41 that have passed, and I'm sorry, it's 41 that have finished and 24 that have passed, which is 58%. So that's actually really good. I mean, we have 41 carpenters. That's really good for what we're about to do. And that's pretty much it. For needs, I'm going to show you real quick. Our needs are all pretty standard. They're all pretty green. Everybody's asleep right now. So it's 1 a.m. When they wake up at 4 a.m., they go to the canteen and they start eating and lowering all the other stuff, like food and exercise and recreation and hygiene and all that stuff. I really haven't had a problem, because I'm gonna, like, if you notice right here, days without incidents, I've had 6 days without incidents. I know I've hit 10. I don't know if I've hit 20, but 6 days without incidents, that's really good. Exports, 60,400, which is really high just by selling beds. I did the math. 60,400 divided by 400 per bed. That means I sell 151 beds per day, which is quite a lot, honestly. And later on, I'm gonna plan on selling a lot more, but 121 beds for a few workshops is actually really good. So, anyways, let's get started. Let's zoom in here real quick. First, I want to touch up on the fact that I only have my prisoners are 1 by 2 cells. You might be wondering how do I do that, and that involves editing a file, which I'll kind of touch on later on when I do another segment about the editing in this video, because we do have to edit for what we're about to do. So I'm going to show you all that. But basically, my prisoners are sleeping in 1 by 2 cells, which have a bed, and then when they need to use the toilet, they just go use the toilet in the canteen. So that saves some space and allows me to have a lot more prisoners in my prison once my prison is pretty much maxed out. But this is right here our workshop. our main workshop. We have 3 workshops, uh, but the one on the bottom is our main one. The one at the top is just for saws. Like, we just do wood there. We transform the log into wood. Uh, and then the one in the middle is our secondary workshop, which is kind of being filled little by little. But let's go ahead and have a look at our main one right here. Now you might be wondering, uh, Wilmer, why do you have so many carpenter tables in one workshop when there's only 20 workers in one workshop and you have more than 20 carpenter tables? Matter of fact, I actually have 29. And so you might be wondering, how do why do I have so many carpenter tables when I have more than what is available? And it's very simple. It's basically because when your carpenter is done at one station, he can move on to another station. Because what ends up happening is that when he finishes making the bed at that one carpenter table, most of the times your handyman don't come right away to pick it up, and so he would just sit there not doing anything. So by having a lot more extra carpenter tables, he's able to move from one station to another whenever there's a station that is free. And so um, I have about 29 carpenter tables, and as I showed you in the programs, we have like over 30, close to 40 carpenters. So I could easily put, 2 sets of carpenters, 2 workshops with 20 carpenters in each, and we have 29, which means pretty much all the carpenters are at every station, and then there's like a few leftover stations, so that when they finish their work, they can go to another free station and continue to work. And so we do that to speed up production and also wait for our handyman to come pick up the beds and take them to export. Now, forestry. I want to touch up on forestry because it's very important for this. Um, it is nighttime. It's a little harder to see, but basically my forestry is over here on the right side of the road. I don't have it filled up completely because in a test that I did, when I did fill it up completely, um, my handyman were always going to cut trees and bringing the logs, and so they didn't have enough time to go and pick up the beds and take them to export. So I had to reduce the amount of area that I designated as forestry. Now, on my testing, I have noticed that assuming from top to bottom on that side of the map, if you were to use the same layout as I have, assuming from top to bottom, you want about 10 to 20 wide for every workshop, and so that gives you time to wait for the trees to grow, which they take, I think, about 3 days to grow. So that gives you enough time for your trees to grow, and then they get cut down and regrow again. Because what ends up happening is that if you have a lot less forestry area, then your saws are not being used because there's not enough logs coming in. And then if you have too much, then you have too much log coming in. And when you have too much log coming in, your workshops look really, really, really crowded because there's logs all over the floor, and it looks really, really ugly. And there's not enough space and not enough production, like, to be able to, get rid of all those logs. So you don't want to have too much and you don't want to have too little. So you have to find the right balance, and that's why I've noticed that about 10 to 20 wide for every workshop. So if, like, I have 3 workshops, I should be having like between 30 and 60 wide. And I don't really recommend 60 for my case because that would be a little too much. So I recommend somewhere around 30 to 40 wide, so that I can keep a nice flow of logs coming in to my saws, so I don't overdo it. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the end of the video for this segment. Now I'm gonna touch up on the part about editing, because you do have to edit. Because I don't know if you noticed, but let me go back in there. If you do notice, my workshop only has 2 saws and there's no presses in there. And so you might be wondering, well, Wilmer, how do you have the workshop working without a single press in there? And that's why we have to go in there and edit. We have to edit to remove the saw from the workshop. I mean, not the saw, the press from the workshop, and we also have to remove the logs and the woods from the exporting so that they don't get sold. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. You can see how to do that. So to do that, you have to go into your main prison architect folder. In my case, since I bought the game off of GOG, it is in the GOG folder. Now, if you're on Steam, it probably is on inside the Steam folder. But if it's not, look in your C drive, and you should find it. It shouldn't be that difficult. But once you do find it, you will notice that there is this file right here that's called main.dat, and that is the file that we're going to be working with. You have to have an extractor, so you have to use a program like WinRAR, which I recommend. I'm going to be using 2 programs. I'm going to use 7-zip, and I'm going to be using WinRAR. I only use the WinRAR for recompressing the file, and then I use 7-zip in order to open the files directly without having to extract. And since I've already extracted, it's a lot quicker for me to just go ahead and open the file directly using 7-zip, because WinRAR, I've noticed, doesn't have that feature. At least I can't find it, so I prefer to use 7-zip. So I use both. So anyways, I also recommend you make a backup of this main.dat file. If you do notice, up at the top, I do have a folder up there that I created that's called backup, and inside is the original main.dat file of the game before I actually did any modifications. So once you've made a backup of it, you're going to go in there, and you're going to well, in the main folder, not in the backup folder. But anyways, like in my case, 7-zip, I'm going to open archive. But in your case, you're going to be extracting with WinRAR. Now, once you finish extracting, you're going to have a folder like this that's called data. You're going to double click it, and you're going to see there's going to be a lot of folders like advisors, campaign, etc. But you're going to ignore all that. You're going to go to the file that's called materials.txt. There it is. And then you're going to open up that materials.txt, and that's what we're going to be working with. So I double click, and it's going to open. Now you're going to see here that there is things like box and bed and superior bed. You can ignore all that. You're going to see, like, for instance, the superior bed right here. You can see the toughness, and you can see the price. Like, you can adjust the price to, like, 1,000 if you want to make more money, or you can adjust it to like 100 or 200, whatever you want. So you can make more or you can make less. Like if you want the game to be a lot harder, and you can make the beds sell for a lot less, and if you want to make a lot more money, you raise the price so you make a lot more money. But I don't do that. I just leave it at the default rate. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for the 3 specific things. We're going to be looking for log and wood, and we're going to be removing the press from the workshop. So you're going to hit Control F, and it's going to bring up the find, and you're going to find log. So you're going to type in log, and the first thing that pops up in blue will be log, which is what we're looking for. Now here you're going to see the stack size is 3. You can leave that at default. I usually leave it at default. You can change it to like 10, 20, 100, whatever you want. It will save some time and space so that you don't have to do as much work if you make the stack size a lot bigger. You want to change the price to 0 so that it doesn't sell at export, because we don't want to do that. We want to keep that log and all the logs that come in. We don't want to sell them because we need them to make beds. So we don't want to sell them. So change the price to 0, and then you also want to get rid of this line right here that says properties and sellable. You want to delete that. So we're going to delete that. Now after you're done with that, you're going to see that the next object right here is wood, and we're also going to be working with that. So you're going to see the stack size is 20. You can change it to 100. you know, 50, whatever you want. It will save time, just like the same thing with log, save time and space. But I leave it at default. Price, also, you also set the price right here to 0, so that it doesn't sell at export, just like the log. And the same thing with properties and sellable. You're gonna delete that line as well, so it doesn't sell at the exports. Now the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the press from the workshop. To do that, you're gonna type in workshop. Oops, sorry, I forgot the S. Workshop. You're gonna keep going. You're gonna notice it keeps finding things like workshop toolbar, workshop press. We're looking for the word workshop, and here it is, right at the very bottom. You want the one that says begin room, which is right here. You're gonna see this, all this right here that I just highlighted in blue. That's what we're looking for. It's gonna say begin room, workshop, prison labor, etc. You're gonna see all the contrabands that come out of the workshop. So this is what we're looking for. Here you're gonna see like minimum size. You can change the minimum size. I recommend leaving it at 5x5, but you can change it to like 1x3 or 3x3. You know, I recommend you leave it at the default setting, or you put it on a ×3, because you know your tables and your saws and your presses, they are all 3 tiles minimum. So you want to keep it at least a 1x3. You don't want to make it 1x1, because then you won't be able to put anything inside of it. But anyways, what we're looking for is the workshop press. We're looking to remove that. So right here is the line of code. It says right here workshop press. That's what we're looking for. So right here it says begin requirement workshop press. We're going to delete that line. So you delete it and you're done. That's it. Now you save this file, and then click save. Now in my case I'm not going to save, but you guys will. Once you're done saving, now you have to compress the file. Now that materials.txt is been modified inside your data folder. So if you go into your double click in data folder and you go to materials right here, you're gonna notice that there's a date. In my case it was yesterday, but you're gonna see that the date has been changed to, you know, the current date and the current time that you do edit the file. That's how you know it's been changed. So anyway, so now you go back to the data folder and you're gonna compress it back into the game, so that the game can recognize your modifications. So you right click on the data folder and you click add to archive from WinRAR, and then archive name, you're gonna change it to the name of the original, which is main.dat. So you type in main.dat and then you hit OK, and it'll recompress. Make sure you leave the format as RAR, and then the compression method, you can change it if you like. I just leave it at default, so I just hit OK right away. If you're strapped for size, you hit best and it'll compress it a lot more, and your file size will be smaller. If you want to compress a lot quicker, you hit fastest, or you change the settings. Like I said, I just leave it at normal, so it doesn't take too long and it's not too big. So you hit OK and it'll override the original main.dat right here, and it'll have the current time and the current date that it was recompressed. And then once you're done with that, you're good to go. You just restart. Make sure you exit the game and then reload it, restart the game, and it'll recognize your modifications and you'll be good to go. And then you'll notice your workshop doesn't require a saw, a press anymore, and you'll notice that your export no longer sells wood and no longer sells logs. And whatever other modifications you do, like if you want to change the yard, you can go into the yard, you search for yard and you change it from a 5x5 into a 2x2, you know, or you can change anything else. And that's pretty much it. And that's the end of the video, guys. So if you liked, subscribe and all that good stuff. And this is Boomer 007 signing out. Peace.